My name is Jessica, and I'm 28 years old. Last Tuesday, I came home from my marketing job to find my living room completely empty. My custom Italian leather sectional, my grandmother's antique coffee table, my entertainment center, everything worth $13,800 total, had vanished. The only thing left was a handwritten note from my mother. Moved your furniture to help Maya with her new apartment. You can afford to buy new stuff anyway. Mom. What I discovered next about my family's lies would destroy everything I thought I knew about blood loyalty forever. Before we dive into this family betrayal that still keeps me up at night, I'm curious, where are you watching from today? If you've ever dealt with entitled family members who think your success means you owe them everything, hit that like button because you'll definitely relate to this wild ride. And make sure to subscribe because trust me, the revenge plot twist in this story will leave your jaw on the floor. Now let me tell you exactly how my own mother tried to steal my entire life's work. I stood in my empty living room gripping that note with trembling hands, trying to process what had just happened. The silence was deafening where my surround sound system used to hum. The hardwood floors looked naked without my Persian rug that had taken me 6 months to save for. But it wasn't just about the money. This furniture represented 3 years of working 60-hour weeks, skipping vacations, eating ramen noodles for dinner so I could finally create the home I'd always dreamed of. My phone buzzed with a text from my younger sister, Maya. Oh my God, Jess. Mom surprised me with the most amazing housewarming gift. You should see my new place now. It looks like something from a magazine. Thanks for being such an amazing big sister. Heart emoji, heart emoji. The audacity hit me like a physical blow. Maya didn't even know the furniture was mine. In her mind, this was just Mom being incredibly generous with some mysterious furniture she'd acquired. I immediately called my mother, my hands shaking so hard I could barely dial. Jessica, honey, Mom answered cheerfully, as if she hadn't just committed what was essentially grand theft. How was work today? Where is my furniture, Mom? I managed to keep my voice steady, though inside I was screaming. Oh, that old stuff I told you in the note, sweetie. Maya needed help furnishing her apartment, and you know how tight money is for her right now with the divorce and all. Besides, you're doing so well financially, you can just buy new things this weekend, old stuff. 3 years of my life savings, custom-ordered pieces that I'd researched for months, was old stuff to her. Mom, that furniture cost me almost $14,000. You can't just take it without asking. That's stealing. She laughed, actually laughed like I'd told her an amusing joke. Stealing from my own daughter, Jessica, don't be so dramatic. It's just furniture. You know Maya's going through a hard time with the divorce, and she can't afford nice things like you can. I thought you'd be happy to help your sister. This was classic Mom. Somehow she'd twisted this scenario in her mind, until I was the selfish one for being upset about having my possessions stolen. Growing up, I'd watched this pattern play out countless times. Maya was always the victim who needed rescuing, and I was always expected to be the responsible one who sacrificed for the family. When Maya went through her rebellious teenage phase and crashed Dad's car, I was asked to contribute my summer job money for repairs, because you understand responsibility better. When Maya dropped out of college twice, Mom and Dad continued paying her rent while I worked 3 jobs to pay my own way through school. When Maya married her ex-husband against everyone's advice, I was expected to smile and give them a generous wedding gift I couldn't afford. Now, at 28, I was watching my mother steal my furniture to maintain Maya's lifestyle while she went through her second divorce in 5 years. I want my furniture back, I said firmly. Tonight? Now, Jessica, don't be unreasonable. Maya's already arranged everything in her apartment. You can't just uproot her life because you're having some kind of materialistic crisis. I raised you better than this. Materialistic crisis. My own mother was gaslighting me about having my belongings stolen. Fine, I said. If you won't return my furniture, I'll call the police and report it stolen. The line went quiet for a long moment. Then Mom's voice returned colder now. You would really call the police on your own mother over furniture? Maya's right. Success has changed you, Jessica. You used to care about family. She hung up before I could respond. I spent the next hour calling Maya directly, but she didn't answer. Finally, I drove to her new apartment across town. When she opened the door, I could see my living room set up through the doorway behind her, looking perfect in her space, like it had been designed for her home instead of mine. "Jess, what a surprise! Come see how amazing everything looks." Maya was genuinely excited, completely oblivious to the situation. "Maya, we need to talk. That furniture? It's mine. Mom took it from my apartment without permission." Her face fell. "What do you mean yours?" Mom said she'd been storing it in her garage and thought I could use it for my fresh start. She lied. "I bought all of that furniture over the past 3 years. She took it from my apartment while I was at work today and left me a note." Maya sank onto my sectional, her face pale with realization. "Oh God, Jess. I had no idea," I thought. I mean, Mom seemed so happy to help, and she said she wanted me to have nice things for once. "I never would have taken it if I'd known it was yours." For a moment, I felt relief. Maya wasn't part of this scheme. She was just another victim of Mom's manipulation. "I know you didn't know," I said gently. "But I need it back. I worked so hard for those pieces." Maya nodded quickly. "Of course, I'll help you move everything back tomorrow." "I'm so sorry, Jess. I should have questioned why Mom suddenly had expensive furniture lying around. But when we called Mom to arrange the return, she had a very different response than I'd expected." "Absolutely not," she said firmly. "Maya, you keep that furniture. Jessica is being selfish and materialistic, and I won't reward that behavior. She can afford to replace it." "But Mom," Maya protested, "it's not yours to give away. Jessica worked hard for this stuff. I'm your mother and I've made my decision. Jessica needs to learn that family comes first, not possessions." That's when I realized this wasn't just about furniture. This was about control, manipulation, and a pattern of behavior that had been destroying our family dynamics for years. Mom had orchestrated this entire situation to maintain her role as the family's puppet master, keeping Maya dependent while punishing me for becoming successful enough to question her authority. The war was just beginning. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying Mom's words about teaching me a lesson and family coming first. The more I thought about it, the more I realized this wasn't a spontaneous decision. She'd planned this. But how did she even get into my apartment? The next morning I called my landlord, Mr. Patterson, who'd always been helpful with maintenance issues. "Hey, this might sound weird, but did anyone request access to my apartment yesterday while I was at work?" "Actually, yes," he said. "Your mother called around noon. Said you'd asked her to let the furniture movers in because you were surprising your sister with a housewarming gift. She had your spare key and everything. Seemed legitimate, so I didn't think twice about it." My blood ran cold. "My spare key?" "Yeah," she said, "you'd given it to her for emergencies. Real nice lady, your mom. Talked about how proud she was of you for being so generous to your sister." I'd never given Mom a spare key, which meant she'd taken it without permission during one of her recent visits. I'd been so trusting, leaving my purse unattended when she'd come over for dinner last month. She'd probably made a copy then. This wasn't impulsive family favoritism. This was premeditated theft, with a side of emotional manipulation. I spent my lunch break at the police station, but the desk sergeant looked skeptical when I explained the situation. "Ma'am, family disputes over property are usually civil matters. Since she had access to your apartment and claimed you'd given permission, it's your word against hers about whether this was theft or a family arrangement gone wrong. But she stole my spare key to gain access. Can you prove she stole it? Or did you maybe give it to her at some point and forget?" I left the police station feeling defeated, but more determined than ever. If the law wouldn't help me immediately, I'd have to build an ironclad case. First, I called the furniture store, where I'd bought everything. The sales associate, Jennifer, remembered me well since I'd been such a careful, methodical customer. "Oh my goodness, Jessica, I remember your order perfectly. You saved for months, came in 3 different times to test the sectional, and you were so excited when everything finally arrived. Do you need the receipts?" Resent? "Actually, yes. I need everything. Receipts, delivery, records, financing agreements, everything with my name on it." Within an hour, I had a comprehensive paper trail proving every piece of furniture was purchased by me, delivered to my address, and financed through my bank account. No reasonable person could argue this furniture belonged to anyone else. Next, I drove to Maya's apartment complex and spoke with her neighbors. Mrs. Chen, who lived directly across the hall, had been home during the move. "Oh yes, I saw the whole thing," she said. "That older woman must have been the mother was directing these movers like she was orchestrating a military operation. She kept saying things like, 'Maya's going to be so surprised, and Jessica is such a good sister for doing this.' But something felt off about it. The movers seemed confused about the whole arrangement. Mrs. Chen had even taken photos of the moving truck's license plate because she was considering hiring the same company. Those photos would help me track down the moving company and get their side of the story. The movers, Thompson Brothers Moving, remembered the job well when I called them. "Yeah, that was a weird one," the dispatcher told me. "The lady who hired us kept changing her story. First, she said it was her furniture, then she said it was a surprise from one daughter to another, then she said the owner had asked her to coordinate everything. Our guys were confused, but she had keys to both apartments and seemed to know exactly what she wanted moved." "Did she pay you directly, cash?" $500 cash. She insisted on paying extra for same-day service, and specifically requested our most discreet team. Said it was a family surprise and she didn't want anyone asking questions. $500 cash for same-day moving service. Mom had planned this operation down to the smallest detail. This wasn't about helping Maya, this was about punishing me for becoming financially independent enough to question her control. But the most damning evidence came from an unexpected source, Maya herself. When I met her for coffee that afternoon, she was visibly upset. "Jess, I've been thinking about everything Mom said yesterday. Some things aren't adding up." "What do you mean?" "When she called me about the surprise furniture, she made it sound like you'd specifically requested that she handle everything while you were at work. She said you wanted it to be a surprise for my fresh start after the divorce. But then when you showed up confused about your missing furniture and Mom got angry about you wanting it back." Maya pulled out her phone. "I recorded our conversation with Mom yesterday after you left. I wanted to have a record in case things got complicated with the furniture return." She played the recording. Mom's voice came through clearly. "Maya, you deserve nice things for once in your life. Jessica has always had everything handed to her, the good grades, the scholarship, the high-paying job. She can afford to replace some furniture. Consider this my way of evening the score between you girls." "Evening the score," I repeated, stunned. "That's what made me realize this wasn't about helping me," Maya said quietly. "This was about some twisted competition she's created between us in her head. She's been keeping track of our successes and failures like we're points in a game." Maya continued playing the recording. Mom's voice grew more revealing. "Besides, Jessica needs to learn that her money and success don't make her better than family. She's been getting too big for her britches lately, questioning my decisions, acting like she knows better than her mother. This will remind her that I'm still in charge of this family." There it was. The truth behind the furniture theft. This wasn't about Maya's divorce or financial struggles. This was about Mom's desperate need to maintain control over her adult daughters by manufacturing crises and playing us against each other. I finally understood the pattern that had defined my entire life. Every time I achieved something independently, Mom would create a situation that forced me to sacrifice for Maya, maintaining the family dynamic where she remained the central authority figure. But this time she'd gone too far. And I had the evidence to prove it. Armed with receipts, witness statements, photos, and Maya's damning recording, I felt ready to confront Mom directly. But first, I needed to understand the full scope of her manipulation. Maya and I spent the evening going through years of family interactions, and the patterns became impossible to ignore. "Remember when you graduated valedictorian?" Maya asked, looking through old family photos. "Mom threw me a bigger party for making honor roll the same semester." Or when I got my first promotion, I added, "And suddenly Mom discovered you needed help with car payments that same week." And when you bought your first car with your own money, Mom convinced you to co-sign for mine because I couldn't qualify on my own. Maya's voice was getting angry now. "I could have qualified. I just would have gotten a higher interest rate. But she wanted you invested in my financial success." We'd been so focused on being good daughters that we'd never stepped back to see the bigger picture. Every milestone in my life had been counterbalanced by a manufactured crisis in Maya's life that required my sacrifice. Mom had been orchestrating this dynamic for over a decade. The furniture theft is just the most obvious example, I realized. She's been stealing from me emotionally and financially for years. Maya nodded grimly. And I let it happen because I thought she was just being protective of me. The next morning, Maya and I drove to Mom's house together. We'd agreed that she needed to face both of us at once, no more divide and conquer tactics. Mom opened the door wearing her usual bright smile, but it faltered when she saw us both standing there with serious expressions. "Girls, what a nice surprise! Come in, I'll make coffee." "We're not here for coffee, Mom," I said firmly. "We're here for the truth." She led us to the living room, maintaining her cheerful facade. "Truth about what, sweetie? The furniture theft was never about helping Maya the first," began. "It was about punishing me for becoming financially independent enough to question your control over our family." Mom laughed nervously. "Jessica, you're being dramatic again. I just wanted to help your sister. Stop." Maya interrupted, pulling out her phone. "Just stop lying, Mom. I recorded our conversation yesterday." She played the recording where Mom talked about evening the score and reminding me that she was still in charge of this family. Mom's face went white as her own words played back to her. When the recording ended, the room fell silent. "You recorded me," Mom whispered, and for the first time I heard real hurt in her voice instead of manipulation. "Because I needed to understand what was really happening," Maya said. "And now I do. You've been using me as a weapon against Jessica for years and I never saw it. I have not. Everything I've done has been to help you girls, help us what I stood up, finally letting years of suppressed anger surface. Help us stay dependent on you, help us never develop a real relationship with each other, because we were too busy competing for your approval. I gave you both everything. I sacrificed my entire life for you girls. You sacrificed our autonomy." I shot back. "Every time I achieved something independently, you found a way to make me give part of it to Maya. Every time Maya started to succeed on her own, you created a crisis that made her need rescuing. You've kept us both in boxes that serve your need to feel important." Mom sank into her chair, tears starting to form. I just wanted to matter. After your father left you, girls were all I had. When you started succeeding without needing me, I felt like I was becoming invisible." There it was. The admission I'd been waiting for. But instead of feeling victorious, I felt sad. "Mom, we'll always need you," Maya said gently. "But we need you to be our mother, not our puppet master." "I want my furniture back," I said, returning to the practical matter at hand. "Today." Mom looked up at me with red-rimmed eyes. "And if I refuse," I pulled out my folder of evidence. "Then I file a police report with all of this documentation. I have receipts, witness statements, photos, and recordings. The moving company will testify that you paid cash for same-day service and acted suspiciously during the entire move. Maya will testify that you lied about having my permission. Mr. Patterson will confirm you gained access to my apartment under false pretenses. You would really send your mother to jail over furniture. You would really steal from your daughter to maintain psychological control over your adult children," I countered. The standoff stretched for long minutes. Finally, Mom reached for her phone. "I'll call the moving company," she said quietly. "They can move everything back tomorrow." "Today," I said firmly. "I'm not giving you time to come up with another manipulation or convince Maya to change her mind. Today." Mom made the call. The movers could return that afternoon for another emergency job, but it would cost extra. "I'll pay for it," Maya said. "It's the least I can do." "No," I interrupted. "Mom will pay for it. She created this mess. She can cover the costs of fixing it." Mom nodded silently, agreeing to pay the additional moving fees. But as we waited for the movers to arrive at Maya's apartment, I realized this confrontation was just the beginning. The furniture theft was a symptom of a much deeper problem that had infected every aspect of our family relationships. "This doesn't end with getting my furniture back," I told both of them. "This dynamic between us has to change permanently, or I'm done." "What do you mean done?" Mom asked anxiously. "I mean, I'm done being your emotional and financial safety net. I'm done sacrificing my goals to enable Maya's dependency. I'm done pretending this is healthy family behavior." "So what are you saying?" Maya asked. "I'm saying we all need therapy. family therapy. And until we address these patterns with professional help, I'm setting boundaries with both of you. The movers arrived, and for the second time in 2 days, my furniture was loaded onto a truck. But this time, I watched every piece being handled carefully, knowing it was coming home to me. As my sectional disappeared into the moving truck, I realized something had fundamentally shifted inside me. For the first time in my adult life, I wasn't trying to keep everyone happy or maintain family peace at my own expense. I was finally putting myself first. And it felt terrifying and liberating in equal measure. The real work was just beginning, but at least now we were all dealing with the truth instead of enabling comfortable lies. Have you ever reached a breaking point where you had to choose between family peace and your own sanity? Because what happened next tested every boundary I thought I was strong enough to maintain. The furniture was just the beginning of my mother's revenge plan. I thought getting my furniture back would end the drama, but I severely underestimated my mother's capacity for revenge. Within a week of our confrontation, she launched a campaign that made the furniture theft look like child's play. It started with phone calls to my extended family. Aunts, uncles, and cousins I hadn't heard from in months suddenly began reaching out with concern about my behavior. "Jessica, honey, your mom is worried about you," Aunt Linda called to say. "She thinks you might be having some kind of breakdown. Calling the police on your own mother over furniture, that doesn't sound like the Jessica we know." "Jessica, Uncle Mark left a voicemail. Your mom says you threatened to have her arrested and cut off from the family entirely. Is everything okay with you? Maybe you should talk to someone professional." Mom had twisted the entire story. According to her version, I'd had an unhinged meltdown over furniture, threatened to destroy the family, and was now trying to turn Maya against her own mother. She painted herself as the victim of an ungrateful daughter who'd been changed by success and money. The calls kept coming. Cousins I barely knew were reaching out to check on my mental health. Family, friends were expressing concern about my recent erratic behavior. Even my grandmother called, worried that I was going through something serious. But Mom's masterpiece was yet to come. 3 days after the family phone campaign began, I got a call at work from my landlord. "Jessica, I hate to do this, but I need to talk to you about your lease renewal." My heart sank. "Is there a problem, Mr. Patterson?" "Well, your mother called me yesterday. She was very upset, crying actually. She said you've been going through some kind of mental health crisis and that she's worried you might not be able to keep up with rent payments or maintain the apartment properly." "That's completely untrue." She also mentioned that you'd recently had some kind of breakdown over furniture and that she's concerned about your judgment. "Look, Jessica, you've been a model tenant for 3 years, but I can't ignore warning signs about potential problems. Mr. Patterson, my mother is lying to you. We had a family disagreement that she's now trying to weaponize. I've never missed a rent payment, never caused problems, and my mental health is fine." I want to believe that, but she seemed genuinely concerned. She even offered to co-sign your lease renewal to help with any financial issues you might be having. The manipulation was breathtaking. Mom was trying to insert herself as a co-signer on my lease, giving her legal rights to my living situation while simultaneously painting me as unstable to anyone who would listen. I absolutely do not want her co-signing anything, I said firmly. "I can provide bank statements, employment verification, and character references if you need reassurance about my lease renewal." "That would help," Mr. Patterson admitted. "Because honestly, your mom's call worried me." After work, I drove straight to Maya's apartment. She opened the door looking exhausted and frustrated. "Let me guess," I said. "Mom's been calling you nonstop." "Every 2 hours," Maya confirmed. "She's completely spiraled since the furniture thing. She keeps saying you're trying to turn me against her and that you threatened to cut her off from both of us permanently." "Did I threaten that?" "No, but she's convinced that's your plan. She's also been calling my ex-husband. What she called Derek yesterday and told him she's concerned about my mental state because I'm enabling your breakdown. She suggested he might want to reconsider our custody arrangement because I'm apparently under your negative influence now." My blood ran cold. "She called your ex-husband to interfere with your custody." Derek hung up on her, thank God. "But Jessica, she's not going to stop. She's going to keep escalating until we both come crawling back and apologize for questioning her authority. That evening, Maya and I sat down to strategize. Mom had declared war on both of us and we needed to respond decisively. She's using classic manipulation tactics, I said, having spent hours researching narcissistic behavior patterns online. Triangulation, gaslighting, and reputation destruction. She's trying to isolate us by convincing everyone we know that we're unstable. So, what do? We document everything and we get ahead of her narrative. I started keeping a detailed log of every phone call, every story she spread, every attempt to interfere with our lives. Maya did the same. We also began reaching out to family members, proactively sharing our side of the story before Mom could poison the well completely. The breakthrough came when my cousin Rachel called. "Jessica, I need to tell you something," Rachel said. "Your mom called me last week with this whole story about you having a breakdown, but it didn't add up. So I called Maya directly to check on both of you." "What did Maya tell you? The truth about the furniture theft?" "And Jessica, this isn't the first time your mom has done something like this." "What do you mean?" "Remember when your cousin Tommy got married 5 years ago, your mom spread rumors that his fiancée was using him for money because she felt like Tommy's parents weren't treating your mom with enough respect at family gatherings. She almost broke up their engagement with her gossip campaign." "I had no idea." "And when your Aunt Susan got promoted at work, your mom started telling people that Susan was getting too big for her britches, and that success was changing her. She created drama at every family gathering until Susan just stopped coming." A pattern was emerging. Mom had been using these tactics for years, destroying relationships and isolating family members who didn't conform to her expectations or who achieved independence she couldn't control. "The difference this time," Rachel continued, "is that you and Maya are fighting back together instead of just accepting her version of reality." That conversation gave me an idea. Instead of playing defense against Mom's lies, we needed to go on offense. I called a family meeting. "I'm hosting Sunday dinner this weekend," I announced in a group text to all our relatives. "I'd like everyone to come so we can clear the air about some recent family issues." Mom immediately called, furious. "How dare you try to turn my family against me, your family," I replied calmly. "I thought we were all family, Mom. I'm just inviting everyone over for dinner and honest conversation. If you embarrass me in front of my sisters and brother, then don't come," I said and hung up. Sunday dinner would be the final confrontation. Either our family would finally address the toxic dynamic Mom had created, or I'd learn which relatives were willing to enable her behavior indefinitely. But I wasn't prepared for what Mom would do to sabotage that dinner party. The morning of my family dinner, I woke up to 17 missed calls and 43 text messages. Something was very wrong. The first voicemail was from Aunt Linda, her voice shaky. "Jessica, honey, your mom is in the emergency room. She collapsed at home this morning and they're running tests. We're all very worried. Maybe you should postpone the dinner." My hands trembled as I listened to message after message from relatives expressing concern about Mom's sudden health crisis and suggesting that family drama was literally making her sick. The timing was suspiciously perfect, just hours before a family meeting where her behavior would be exposed. I called Maya immediately. "Did you hear about Mom's hospital visit?" "I'm here now," Maya said quietly. "Jessica, you need to get down here. But prepare yourself, I think this is another manipulation." At the hospital, I found our entire extended family gathered in the waiting room, all looking at me with mixtures of sympathy and accusation. Mom was apparently being evaluated for chest pains and dizziness that started right after she learned about my dinner party. "The doctor says stress can cause real physical symptoms," Aunt Linda informed me meaningfully. "Family conflicts can literally be life-threatening for someone her age." I was being positioned as the daughter whose rebellious behavior was now endangering her mother's life. But when I spoke privately with the attending physician, Dr. Rodriguez, a different picture emerged. "Your mother's tests are all normal," she told me confidentially. "Blood work, EKG, chest X-ray, everything looks fine for a woman her age. She reports chest tightness and anxiety, which could be related to stress, but there's no evidence of any serious medical condition. So she's okay to go home, medically, yes. but she's requesting to stay for observation because she says she doesn't feel safe due to family stress. She mentioned something about daughters turning against her and causing psychological trauma. Even from a hospital bed, Mom was manipulating the narrative. I found her room where she lay, looking frail and dramatic, surrounded by flowers from relatives who thought she was dying from family stress. "Oh, Jessica," she said, weakly, when she saw me. "I'm so glad you came. I've been thinking about what happened between us, and I realize I may have made mistakes. It was an Oscar-worthy performance, but Maya caught my eye and mouthed 'watch this' before pulling out her phone. "Mom, I'm so sorry you're feeling sick," Maya said, turning on her voice recorder app. "Can you tell us exactly when the chest pains started this morning, right after I saw Jessica's text about the family dinner? The stress of knowing she wanted to embarrass me in front of everyone just overwhelmed my heart. And you collapsed at home." "Yes, I was getting dressed to come talk to Jessica to try to work things out when everything went black." Maya showed me her phone screen. She'd been tracking Mom's social media activity. While Mom claimed to be collapsed and unconscious at home, her Facebook account had been busy posting motivational quotes about toxic family members and sharing articles about ungrateful adult children. "Mom," Maya said gently, "your Facebook shows you were posting content this morning after you supposedly collapsed." Mom's face flickered for just a moment before she recovered. I scheduled those posts earlier. I always schedule my posts. But I could see in her eyes that she knew we'd caught her. Dr. Rodriguez returned with discharge paperwork. "Mrs. Williams, all your tests are normal. You're free to go home and should follow up with your regular doctor if symptoms continue." As we left the hospital, the extended family dispersed, but several relatives lingered to express their concerns about my behavior toward Mom. "She's 62 years old," Jessica Uncle Mark said. "Maybe you could be a little more understanding about her mistakes instead of causing her health problems." "Actually," Maya interjected, "we need to show you all something." Right there in the hospital parking lot, Maya played recordings of Mom's conversations about evening the score between us and admitting that the furniture theft was about maintaining control. Then, she showed them the Facebook posts that proved Mom's collapse was staged. The silence that followed was deafening. "There's more," I added, pulling out my documentation folder. Phone records showing she's been calling family members with false stories about my mental health. Evidence that she gained access to my apartment under false pretenses. A pattern of manipulation that goes back years. Aunt Linda looked stunned. "She told us you'd threatened to cut her off from the grandchildren she doesn't have, and that you'd said she was a terrible mother who ruined your life." "I never said any of that. I asked her to return stolen furniture and suggested family therapy to address unhealthy patterns." Uncle Mark studied the Facebook screenshots. "These posts were made while she was supposedly unconscious, and she's been systematically trying to sabotage Jessica's lease renewal and Maya's custody arrangement," Maya added. One by one, our relatives began sharing their own stories of Mom's manipulative behavior over the years. The pattern Rachel had hinted at became undeniably clear. Mom had been creating family drama and playing people against each other for decades. "So what happens now?" Aunt Linda asked quietly. "Now we stop enabling it," I said firmly. "Mom needs professional help and we need boundaries, real ones." That evening, Maya and I went to my apartment for the dinner I'd originally planned. Just the two of us eating takeout Chinese food on my rescued furniture. "I'm proud of us," Maya said suddenly. "For what?" "For not backing down when she escalated. For not falling for the fake medical emergency. For finally choosing truth over family peace." "It doesn't feel good though," I admitted. "I keep wondering if there was a better way to handle this." "There probably wasn't," Maya said thoughtfully. "Someone who's willing to fake a medical emergency to avoid accountability isn't someone who responds to gentle conversations." My phone buzzed with a text from Mom. "I hope you're happy. You've destroyed our family." But for the first time, I felt no guilt reading her words. She had destroyed our family years ago with manipulation and control. Maya and I were just finally refusing to pretend otherwise. The hardest part was over. Now came the real work of rebuilding our relationship as sisters, without Mom's interference, and deciding what kind of relationship, if any, we wanted with her going forward. 6 months later, I'm sitting in my beautifully furnished living room, writing this story for all of you, and I can honestly say that standing up to my mother's manipulation was the best decision I ever made. But the road to get here wasn't easy, and the final chapter of this family drama had a few more twists. After the fake hospital incident, Maya and I maintained strict no contact with Mom for 30 days. During that time, she attempted every manipulation tactic in her arsenal. She sent flying monkeys, family friends who called to guilt us about abandoning her. She sent manipulative letters about how we'd broken her heart. She even tried to show up at my workplace, claiming she needed to deliver important family documents. But Maya and I held firm. We'd agreed that any relationship with Mom going forward would require genuine accountability and professional help. The turning point came when Mom's manipulation finally backfired in a way she hadn't anticipated. Remember Derek, Maya's ex-husband? Well, he'd been documenting Mom's interference calls about custody concerns. When Mom escalated to calling his workplace to express concerns about Maya's parenting, Derek filed a formal complaint with family court about third-party harassment affecting their custody arrangement. The family court judge was not amused by a grandmother trying to manipulate custody proceedings through false reports about a parent's mental health. Derek's attorney presented evidence of Mom's harassment campaign, and the judge issued a restraining order preventing Mom from contacting Derek or discussing Maya's custody situation with anyone. That legal consequence was Mom's wake-up call. Suddenly, her manipulation tactics had real-world legal ramifications that she couldn't charm or cry her way out of. 3 weeks later, she called Maya with a different tone entirely. "I think I need help," she admitted quietly. "I've been talking to a therapist and she's helping me understand some things about my behavior that I never recognized before." It was the first genuine accountability we'd ever heard from her. Maya and I agreed to attend one family therapy session to assess whether Mom was serious about change. That session was brutal. Mom had to confront decades of manipulation tactics while Maya and I shared the impact of her behavior on our lives and relationship with each other. But something had shifted in Mom. Whether it was the legal consequences, the complete loss of control over her daughters, or genuine therapeutic insight, she was finally engaging with the truth instead of defending her version of reality. "I've been so afraid of becoming irrelevant in your lives that I created drama to stay central," she admitted, during one particularly difficult session. "I convinced myself that I was protecting Maya and teaching Jessica important lessons, but really I was just maintaining my own importance." The therapy process took months. There were setbacks and arguments and sessions where we all left feeling worse instead of better. But gradually, we began developing new patterns of interaction based on honesty instead of manipulation. Maya flourished without Mom's interference. She got a promotion at work, started dating a genuinely nice guy who wasn't a project to be fixed, and developed the confidence to make decisions without seeking constant approval. Our relationship as sisters deepened in ways I never thought possible once we weren't competing for Mom's attention or resources. As for me, I learned to trust my own perceptions instead of constantly questioning whether I was being too sensitive or ungrateful. I set clear boundaries about financial expectations, stopped volunteering myself as the family's emergency fund, and discovered what it felt like to have achievements celebrated instead of minimized. The most surprising outcome was with Mom herself. Once she stopped trying to control everyone's lives, she actually became more interesting to be around. She started volunteering at a local literacy program, made friends outside our family, and developed hobbies that didn't revolve around managing her daughters' lives. Our relationship now isn't perfect, but it's honest. Mom still slips into old patterns occasionally, but now Maya and I recognize the warning signs and address them directly instead of enabling the behavior. The furniture that started this whole drama is still in my living room, but it means something different now. Instead of representing my hard work and independence, it represents my willingness to fight for my own worth and demand respect from people who claim to love me. Last month, Mom apologized for the furniture theft, not because she was trying to manipulate us back into compliance, but because she genuinely understood why it was wrong. She even insisted on paying me back for the moving costs and the emotional stress she'd caused. "I stole more than furniture," she told me. I stole years of authentic relationship with both of you, and I'm sorry. That apology meant more than getting my sectional back ever could. Now I want to hear from all of you who've stuck with this wild family journey. Have you ever had to choose between keeping the peace and standing up for yourself with family members? Have you dealt with manipulation disguised as love or concern? Drop your stories in the comments because I know I'm not the only one who's experienced this kind of family drama. If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button and share it with anyone who might need to hear that it's okay to demand respect from family members, even when it feels impossibly hard. Subscribe for more real-life stories about standing up for yourself and setting boundaries that actually stick. Most importantly, remember that blood relation doesn't entitle anyone to mistreat you, manipulate you, or steal from you, literally or figuratively. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do for a family is refuse to enable their worst behaviors. Thank you for following this journey with me, and remember, you deserve relationships built on respect, not control. Here's to all of us, learning to value ourselves enough to demand better.